everybody. As you might probably know, I did a 3 hour video on a fucking DC Comics superhero. Was really intense. I cried while recording it. And as you may have guessed, I did spend a considerable amount of time researching it. I mean, first I had to read the comics, which in itself wasn't the bad part. I wouldn't have done the video if I didn't enjoy the character, if I didn't enjoy reading it. But then I had to actually, research stuff and get images, and I had to reread comics that I didn't like, and that was just the whole thing. It took a lot of effort, but the video is done, and I kind of want to move on with the next phase of my life, just detox myself from all the superhero garbage. But before I do that, since I spent a lot of effort in the video, I thought that I could also cover a video that Linkara did that I don't really agree with, just to get that one last quiz, that one last kick in the balls. The Gift is the name of the story. It was published on his ongoing Batman. If you want to know my full opinion on the comic, you should watch my 3 hour long video on Booster Gold. Not the entire thing, obviously, it's timestamped in the description before the part that I talk about gay sex. And I do recommend you do that because you will find out that my opinions are very, very divergent from Linkara's. And also, it will be interesting for you to see how much I absolutely hate and despise this comic, because it's going to make this video much more entertaining. Because, one thing is to hate something, to feel that warmth of hate, of disgust that engulfs your body, and you just despise that. But have you ever had the feeling of seeing another person hating on another thing you hate, but that person gets it completely wrong? It just completely hates it for the wrong reasons, and you're like, God fucking damn it, I have to defend the thing that I hate from this guy because he's hating it for the completely wrong reasons. It's just shitting himself talking about it. It's almost its own kind of torture. So yeah, this is where we're at. So he starts talking a little bit about the history of DC and Batman and Tom King, in DC Rebirth. We're going to skip that. By the way, I do recommend you watching Linkara's video first before watching this, because you will get a fresh perspective on it and you won't be influenced by everything that I say. I just want to also comment that the video that he did on The Gift is around 4 years old at the time of recording, I think. I'm not going to say that this disqualifies him for being criticized, because the video is still on his channel and he's still making money from it. But do keep in mind that it's almost half a decade old and his opinions might have changed by then, okay? Okay, let's talk about it.
What the hell just happened? Points for having a shocking opener and attention-getter comic, but considering where this is all leading to, it's especially in poor, horrible taste and completely out of character for friggin' Booster Gold!
Yeah, I talked about this in my Booster Gold video, even got a lovely shot of Linkara there. So essentially what I said was, if you know the context behind this, you know that there is a reason why Booster Gold doesn't care. And the reason for that is that this is essentially a universe that he made by going back in time, and he doesn't intend this to last. As I said, maybe the reaction that he had with Green Lantern fucking punching himself to death was a little bit too enthusiastic. But it is in character for Booster Gold to not care about deaths in alternate timelines. What I mean by that is, he doesn't really take deaths seriously because they're not going to happen. He doesn't intend going back in time to fix it. So it doesn't matter that Green Lantern killed himself because he's going to undo it anyway. So yeah, maybe he was a little bit enthusiastic, but this shot is part of the mystery that the story is opening to. You do need to consider this to be strange behavior for Booster Gold, and you need to be a little bit confused, like, oh my god, what's going on? That is very obviously intentional, but I will talk more about this in a bit.
Booster is shot from behind, and he is once again portrayed as an unprepared dolt, as Skeets points out that he only survived the bullet because he reconfigured Booster's costume the previous year. Which I did, despite your numerous protests that armor flattens my bun.
Did Linkara forget that Booster has a force field? I feel like he did, and I don't necessarily blame him because apparently Tom King forgot that too, but it is absolutely in character for Booster Gold to not wear padded armor to not flatten his bumps. It's a thing that would absolutely happen. Force field aside, you need to remember that Booster Gold is not considered a threat in the DC universe. That's the entire thing with the character. He is considered some kind of fraud, some kind of asshole that nobody pays attention to. So it's not like some guy is going to be sniping at him across the city in another building. It's not going to have some kind of sneak attack like that. And since he is a glory hound, he is probably going to appear in battles in wide open areas where there's an audience, where there's press, and where he can activate his force field. Again, he should have his force field up, especially when he knows that this universe is considerably worse than real life. But it does make sense, and it is in character for him to not wear bulletproof armor, because his beauty is essentially what makes him get paid as an actor, as an ad model. So yeah, it is completely in character for him to do that.
Oh, perhaps he needs to cut cheese. Wait, are you saying he needs to cut the... No, please, Booster, you're above that. Bruce Wayne, wedding night, cutting the cheese! I love you, Bat. Oh yes, and I love you, Cat. And also... Hey, remember how 5 minutes ago you watched Hal Jordan kill himself horrifically? Why are you doing this right now? Like, what the hell tone is this thing going for? Dark humor, maybe? At best?
Is he stupid? This isn't a joke. I mean, it kind of is. But when you talk about these caustic critics, the ones that keep yelling in front of the camera, this is an actual question you need to ask, because a lot of them say that they have personas and that the criticism isn't supposed to be taken seriously or something. Like, oh, because I'm not actually like that in real life. Oh, I exaggerate the criticism that I do. It's a really weird phase of the internet, you know, when people would script a video and then film themselves saying the things that they wrote and then edit it and publish it, and she'll come out and say, yeah, I don't actually think everything that I say in a video. It's just the characters, just persona. And like, it comes to the point that people actually think that Yahtzee isn't a real critic, it's just a comedian, that his criticism of video games isn't actually like truth or anything. It's weird. It's a weird era of the internet. Back to the point, does Linkara really not understand what Tom King is trying to do here? As I said before, it's obviously setting up a mystery. Booster Gold is acting odd, and you should be wondering why. You should look at these jokes as being in poor taste and as being unfitting of the situation, because you need to wonder why he's he's acting like that. He keeps talking, oh, I need to talk to Batman. Oh, I need to bring him a gift. You are supposed to wonder what is going on. You're supposed to wonder what the gift is.
Like an idiot. This is a problem that I think a lot of writers have with Booster Gold. This perception of him as stupid. Probably built on him being played up as a joke for so long in Justice League International. It's not that he's dumb, it's that he's straightforward. By that I mean he has a very uncomplicated view of morality and the world, how things should work, and how to solve situations. He doesn't think too hard about a problem because he thinks that the problem, and it does not require a lot of thinking. If A is the issue, then do B to solve it. If someone tries to object with more complex details, he'll brush them aside because that's not A to B thinking. This can be foolish, but it doesn't make him foolish, just that he doesn't always consider the broader ramifications of what he's doing. But he will accept his faults when he's confronted with said ramifications, and he will learn from his mistakes, especially when they're costly ones. He is still a very moral...
I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not saying that his interpretation of the character is necessarily wrong. I think that it is completely valid. The thing about Booster Gold is that he is a very ambitious person. It's not that, oh, if you're in A and you want to get to B, then you need to go through the shortest path. It's not a thing that he does. He wants to go through the path that gives him more stuff, that gives him more glory, that gives him more fame, that gives him more money. This is why I specifically decided to describe him as resourceful. He will very often choose the path of least resistance, but sometimes that's not the path that he wants. Sometimes he wants more out of life. Sometimes he wants to be famous, to be a hero. That's why he decided to steal a bunch of stuff from a superhero museum and travel back in time to be a fucking hero. That's not a simple plan A to B thinking. But to be honest, I do understand what he's talking about. He's not a person that is paranoid or full of neurosis or that has to struggle doing a lot of things. He is a person that knows what he wants, and if he knows how to get it, he probably will do it. It's just that I wouldn't describe him as a simple or practical person. If I were to try to describe him again, taking into account Linkara's description, I would probably use the word idealistic, as in he believes that everything will be fine in the end because heroes exist, and if he does heroic things and becomes a hero and he does good things, then things will turn out to be fine. He's optimistic, he's idealistic, and he might not carefully consider more complicated opinions or options. I guess this is closer as to a middle ground of my interpretation of Linkara. I'm not saying necessarily that Linkara is wrong. It is a good interpretation of the character, and I do appreciate that he still thinks of Booster Gold as being a moral person that makes mistakes but learns from them. I don't think that is wrong. I just have a slight disagreement with him on that, and it might come up later. I'm going to put a pin on that.
Batman and Catwoman are getting married, so he decided to get Bruce a wedding present. He was inspired by the classic Alan Moore story, For the Man Who Has Everything, wherein the supervillain Mongol had Superman's mind trapped in a mental paradise where everything is great, but had to break free of it and realized that things were much better out in the real world. That's a pretty good gift, you've got to admit. No! No, it wasn't! The entire idea behind the Black Mercy plant is that it forces you to reject your heart's desire and happiness in order to escape it. It's incredibly, horribly, emotionally painful, and I'm pretty sure they would have mentioned that part to you.
Okay, let's talk about the story. So, the story that he's referencing is a story written by Alan Moore, in which, as Linkara says, it's a story about plants that uh, takes control of Superman and makes him imagine his heart's desire, the world that he wants to live in. I read the story in order to prepare for this video, and the story is fine. I mean, it's good. It's good. It's definitely worth a read. But I think that this is one of those cases of unbuilt tropes where it's the first time that this was written, this was made, so it wasn't as refined. Story's kind of weird. There is this weird focus on Krypton politics. I mean, not only is this a world that doesn't exist, it's just a hallucination, therefore, there's no reason we should get invested in this fucking hallucination politics. But also, the fact that the world doesn't exist is the point of the comic. We are supposed to look at this and see a vapid illusion of what Superman truly desires. And yeah, he's driving through a fucking strike. There's police brutality. His cousin gets in the hospital. It's really confusing. This is supposed to be what Superman desires the most, right? Why is this showing up on Superman's illusions? Does he want his father to be a fucking fascist madman? Does he want to see Supergirl in the fucking hospital? And then there's the end where he goes and says, "Oh, son, I don't think you're real." But it doesn't really feel like he put in effort into that. He just acknowledged it, like, "Oh, son, I don't think you're real." In the story, they say that he put in effort, that it was like ripping off an arm, but I didn't see it. I prefer the version from Taz, Perchance to Dream, because Bruce straight away just tells that it's an illusion. He remembers being Batman, but then he's convinced that this isn't an illusion at all, and it is implied that it was that easy because Bruce didn't want to be Batman. He did want to live in the illusion, kind of like a 12 Monkeys thing, you know. Oh, because I am going to convince myself that the illusion is the real thing, and the other horrible thing that I was experiencing is just me being mentally insane. And then he understands once again that this is an illusion, and he actually needs to put in a lot of work to escape. He needs to run from the police, needs to climb up the tower, and he needs to jump off and die to wake up. He doesn't even know he's going to survive. He just does it. I think that it was a more well-made version of the story. So yeah, I actually read the comic and I do understand what it is about, but even before I read it, this part on the Linkara video, it sounded really weird because what Linkara is describing is not what happens in the gift at all. Linkara describes the Black Mercy as being the greatest desire that you have, and you need to reject it to free yourself of it. You need to reject your greatest desire. And yeah, I suppose that is accurate to a point, but Batman is not living in a paradise. He's not having everything that he wants. That's the entire point of the gift, that he gets his parents back, but the world sucks. Therefore, his parents dying has some kind of meaning. It makes the world a better place. The entire point of this thing is that the original traditional DC universe where Bruce's parents die is more pleasant than the world that Bruce is currently inhabiting. Now, Booster Gold does say in the comic that he was inspired by the Black Mercy plant. Does that mean that Booster Gold correctly interpreted what happened to Superman and decided to change it into the gift and this was only an inspiration? Does this mean that Booster Gold incorrectly interpreted what happened to Superman and decided to do the experience 1-1, but it's not exactly the same because he didn't understand exactly what was going on? Did Booster correctly interpret what happened to Superman and did the experience one-to-one, but Tom King didn't understand what happened to the Black Mercy and Superman, and Booster's understanding is flawed because Tom King's understanding is flawed. I don't know. I'm not going to try to guess at author intentions here. The point that I'm trying to drive into here is that Linkara is making a bad criticism because he is criticizing something that doesn't happen in the comic. He starts saying that the Black Mercy plant is the worst thing that could possibly happen to someone, and implies that Booster doing this to someone is him being an idiot, but the situation is not similar to the Black Mercy plan at all, so the criticisms does not apply. Why it's not similar, I don't know, but it's not similar, and it's weird that Linkara didn't bring this up.
So yeah, he decided that knowing your life is a worthwhile life is what he decided to give Bruce for his wedding. So he went back in time and saved Bruce's parents, and now, since the world has gone to hell in a handbasket, they can go back to the original timeline again and get peace. Do I have to explain why this is a horrible idea? Why this makes no sense? Why it is so incredibly, insanely stupid? It is impossible for Booster Gold to be that stupid.
Yeah, I said in my video that this is completely out of character for Booster Gold. He will not do this, but there is a logic thread to follow if you believe Booster Gold Volume 2 to be canon. And it makes more sense if you consider, as I said before, that Booster is a very idealistic person. Because the only reason that this doesn't work, that he can't go back to the past very easily to undo what he did, because Batman goes fucking insane and would rather live in a fucked up dystopian world constantly on fire than to accept that his parents need to die, which is insanely out of character. Viewed through that lens, Booster kind of had everything under control until something this insane happened. So while it is OOC, it is closer to canon than you might expect.
I mean, we have seen Booster Gold on this show, in particular during the Blue Beetle retrospective. The man who risked the time stream to save the life of his best friend and had to face the horrible consequences of doing so. And even if you tried to say, well, this is New 52 Booster Gold, he's not as wise as the original. Well, not really, because earlier in DC Rebirth, Booster Gold and Skeets showed up and teamed up with Superman when he tried to go back in time and was indeed charged with protecting the damn timeline!
Yeah, I think that Linkara is overselling how responsible Booster Gold is. I mean, I'm not going to talk about continuity here. I don't fucking know what's going on in regards to DC continuity, honestly. I'm not going to pretend to know. But even in the pre-52, Booster Gold wasn't as wise as Linkara is trying to make him out to be. Even later, he tries to save Coast City and a guy that was supposed to die. He can't really accept millions of people dying. And then there's also that other time when Booster kind of like meets an ancestor to Maxwell Lord, and he's like, oh my god, he's an ancestor to Maxwell Lord, I can kill him right now and get rid of Ted's death. And I think that he doesn't actually stop himself from doing it. He doesn't actually change his mind. He actually just fucking disappears. I don't think he actually went like, oh no, this is wrong, I shouldn't be doing this. I think that he legitimately was willing to risk the timeline once again. And he also rescued that girl that apparently was super important or something. I don't know. DC fucking erased her from existence. It doesn't matter anymore. But I guess what I'm trying to say is Booster Gold is not 100% completely responsible. Even in the pre-52 timeline, he still was trying to grasp the reality of the situation, that he needed to protect timeline. So again, he wouldn't intentionally fuck up the world to give Batman a goddamn wedding present, but it is closer to canon than you might expect.
And as such, he takes a fire poker and smashes Skeets, who's also serving as Booster's time machine, another continuity flub, but whatever compared to the larger one, to ensure he can't get his parents killed again. Okay, this part is not entirely without precedent. I recall an issue of Batman Superman that involved time travel and making sure the Waynes got killed. Bruce was unable to stop himself from intervening and saving their lives, so him trying to save them like this, even knowing the truth, is not out of character. So, yeah, Booster's in
What,
shock,
that's
and Bruce
it?
just says he'll have
That's all you
Alfred
have to
fill him
say
out while he
about
goes
this
back to his
matter.
parents
That's all. You're done. You're done criticizing Bruce Wayne in this comic. Oh my fucking god! If you watched my video on Booster Gold, that was the main point, the main horrible thing that they did in the gift, in my opinion. I even went on a long tangent on why Booster Gold wouldn't care if Batman killed himself, because he's a horrible, horrible person. That's all that he has to say about it. Oh, it's not without precedent. It's not completely out of character for Batman to forsake his entire adopted family and his wedding with Catwoman and also the entire world in order to have his parents back. It's not out of character. There's precedent. I haven't actually read this story that he mentions, but what he says sounds incredibly different from what actually happened. What he says is, in that story that he's citing as a precedent, Batman was out doing something with Superman. In a moment of desperation and adrenaline, he stops his parents' death. It's very different from him, years on the future, knowing that his parents' death made the world a much worse place. He make the deliberate, conscious, rational decision of breaking a time machine that would let him go back. Those are two very different situations. And you know what? I wouldn't even be that angry if Linkara actually believed that it was in character and this is just what Batman would do. I would be incredibly angry still. I mean, come on. But later in the video, in the very end, he does say, well, this is character assassination for Batman, because it's just saying that Batman will at one point get into a time machine, fuck up the entire world to get his parents back. So he does believe that this is character assassination, that Batman wouldn't do this. It was incredibly selfish and irresponsible of him. He just doesn't mention it. He just doesn't mention it, doesn't mention the scene, doesn't mention it when he locks up Booster Gold, doesn't mention it when he gets kids fixed, doesn't mention it anywhere else, just in the end, like it was some kind of afterthought that Tom King ruined the Batman in a Batman story, in the Batman comic.
How does Ra's al Ghul take over 2 continents? Batman is great and all, but some of the changes in the timeline are ludicrous.
Well, there's precedent for that. I mean, isn't that what he says? Precedent for that? I mean, yeah, metaphysical changes to the universe and the timeline aren't the same as a character having established personality and rational thinking. But when I say precedent, I mean this is comic book bullshit. If you are a reader of comic books, you should be aware of this. And yeah, I'm not the biggest expert in comic books here, but he does mention Flashpoint, and he says that Flashpoint did it better when I say that, no it didn't. Flashpoint was like much more ridiculous. Like, the Flash went back in time to save his mom from dying, and that somehow made Superman's fucking spaceship crash in a different place. How did this woman's death cause what is essentially a meteor to crash in a different place? Especially because it probably happened before she died. Like, Ra's al Ghul is actually a Batman enemy, you know? Ra's al Ghul had plans that Batman thwarted several times, I assume, because, you know, being a regular villain in Batman, I assume that this has happened. So I assume that one time that Batman wasn't there to thwart him, and that with him having a large victory. That's not as ludicrous to assume. And besides, that's not the point of the comic. The point of the comic isn't to fucking like analyze the geopolitics of Bruce Wayne's parents dying. It's just Tom King saying, hey, so it's important for its comic when Bruce Wayne's parents dies that a bunch of horrible shit happens. So a bunch of horrible shit happened. Don't think about it. It's very obviously not priority of the comic. Which, you know, you could have a bug up your ass about it. It's your choice as a media consumer. You decide what parts are important to you, whatever. But it's weird that he considers Flashpoint to be a better example, because Flashpoint is even more insane, and it is something that actually affects the story. Like, the Flash actually has to rescue Superman because he fell in the wrong place, and he actually needs to go to Europe to fight the Atlanteans and the Amazons because his mom surviving apparently led to a fucking mythological world war. And you can't ignore that. It's part of the comic. It's part of the plot. He needs to go to Europe to fight the Atlanteans and the Amazons. It's so much worse. I do not understand what the logic is here at all. And it feels like one of Linkara's points is that he wants this aspect that he hates to be a bigger part of the comic. Like he says, well, at least in Flashpoint it mattered. It actually was a part of the plot that he went to Europe to fight the guys. But what, you want this story they give to be like a fucking 10-issue story where they are exploring the geopolitics of Bruce Wayne's parents dying? That's not the fucking point. They have a fucking wedding to go. They have a schedule. And like, you want them to focus on this really specific thing that you hate and you did not enjoy them doing at all. That you want them to expand on it. Doesn't make any sense to me, honestly.
Bearded Idiot, in the meantime, has brought Selina to a motel room and is babbling to her about his latest plan to try to fix all this because he has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Which seems to be also the idea behind why he's acting so out of character. That he's actually suffered some kind of nervous breakdown and as a result is acting irrationally.
What? That's not what's implied at all. Like, where the fuck did you get this, bro? Like, fucking, the reason why he was so happy and carefree in the beginning is because the universe wasn't going to last. It's because Dick Grayson as a Batman building guns isn't going to last. Because House Suicide isn't going to last. Nothing of that is real. Everything's gonna be rewritten. And he doesn't need to care. Now it's a completely different situation. I would assume that he went crazy because he spent 1 year in this fucking hellhole that he created and he can't fix the shit that he fucked up. I would assume that's why he went insane. Like, those are two completely different situations. I do not understand why you would assume that Tom King try to make the two mental states of Booster Gold to be the same. I don't understand where this interpretation came from.
But yeah, Booster has sewn up a costume for Catwoman. And it's basically the Batman Returns costume for her, although on the cover it looked more gray than black. This was a very important reference to make in the story because Christopher Walken, you got anything?
Yawn.
Yeah, I'm going to go easy on this one because this might be a superhero comic book thing. Because I am not a superhero comic book reader, so I do not understand the biggest grievances people have with this genre, with this medium. And the guy spent 20 years doing this. He's read a lot of comics. So maybe people doing shout outs, people just bringing up references out of nowhere is like a real issue in comic books. it's something that happens constantly and you end up getting fed up with it. I kind of get it. I mean, I was reading this issue of Blue Beetle where Booster Gold appears, like, oh, because Ted Core didn't actually die, he's actually lost in the time stream. We need to gather pieces of him. We need to go to the JLI embassy in New York in the 80s. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I like the JLI. I will probably have a good time with this. Can't wait to see what time he's going to do there, and then he doesn't do anything. He just walks into the house, talks to a guy, and leaves. I think it was less than 3 pages. Yeah, that was dumb. So I can understand how bringing up references and crossovers and trying to get right up about them shoving shit that you like at your face could get really annoying if you have to read a lot of comic books. However, absolutely everything about this reference is just fine in universe. The reason Catwoman is wearing leather is because leather is considered a sexy material. Also, she wears leather in the normal universe and Batman's going to marry her, so he probably thinks it's sexy. It's a reasonable assumption for Booster to make. And the reason why it's sewn improperly is because he doesn't know how to sew. And it's also a metaphor for how shitty this plane is, how he's trying to hold it all together, but he has no idea what he's doing. And he actually goes in a monologue, I have friends named Ted Cord, he knows how to sew. I don't know how to sew. I'm just like fucking trying to do whatever I can because I have no idea what I'm doing. So it works as a metaphor for what is going on in the story as well. So she's wearing leather and the leather is badly sewn. At this point, might as well make it a Batman Returns reference. I mean, I like Batman Returns. I like the Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer in that movie. I thought it was sexy and I don't know, I liked seeing the costume. So yeah, I can understand Linkara being kind of pissed off at this, but I think that there is a lot of things in universe happening going on to justify this. You know, I am running a lot of defense for Tom King in this video, aren't I? I mean, I did say in my Booster Gold video that I don't like him very much as a writer, that I already went way too soft on him in the other video I made, so what gives? Why am I being so defensive about him? Well, let me tell you what I think about Tom King. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories written by Tom King, plus some bits and pieces from his Batman run, specifically the Riddler parts. I might have a problem. The thing about Tom King is that I have gathered is that he's really passionate about comic book storytelling, and he really knows what he's doing when in regards to the formatting and the unique things that the medium can bring. If you read, for example, Human Target, issue 5, the one with the Manhunter, and issue 7 with the Batman, you can see that he clearly has a passion for this. The formatting that he does, the weird storytelling that he tries to bring, he has innovative ideas. He is a really creative person. And I've seen people say, oh, because his Mr. Miracle run is really good. And yeah, I can buy it. Mr. Miracle isn't like your typical superheroes, and he's not Superman, he's not Batman, he's not Wonder Woman. He's just like a guy. He's an escape artist, and he has like a tragic backstory in Apocalypse, I think the name. So it makes sense that King would be good at writing him, because it's something that you notice when you read Human Target. Even when you're reading Riddler One Bad Day, Riddler One Bad Day has some good ideas. I do discuss them in the video that I made. And you can see that he has some good things going on for him, just that he doesn't really like writing superheroes, supervillains, super shit. Which kind of sucks because that's literally his fucking job. Why the fuck is this guy who obviously does not like the Riddler, why the fuck is he writing Riddler One Bad Day? Why is this guy that obviously does not like Booster Gold writing The Gift? Why am I alive? Why do I even exist? Well, you see, I don't know. I don't fucking know. He will sit up and say, well, I will write a story in which the Batman and the Riddler, they fight each other. I will even call it the War of Jokes and Riddles. And then you sit down thinking, oh man, look, what are the possibilities? You know, have the Joker, this chaotic force of nature, and he does for funny shit and he's unpredictable, but then you have the Riddler. The Riddler is a thinker, but his thinking is so convoluted, he's probably going to do some fucking crazy shit as well, and he needs to be in somewhat equal footing to the Joker for the story to work. So how it's going to work? It's snipers. They fight using snipers. They get some guys with guns, they shoot each other. There's no jokes and riddles. I don't even know why the story's called that. I think I stopped reading like this story when they did a thing like the Riddler killed Kiteman's son. It was so weird. I don't understand exactly what I was supposed to feel. I'm with Linkara on that one. What is the tone? What am I supposed to feel? I mean, obviously I was supposed to feel sad, but it felt like a joke out of the Harley Quinn cartoon, you know? Oh my god, the Riddler killed Kiteman's son! What a tragedy! You're really supposed to care, I'm like fucking... Dude! Oh my god, he killed Kiteman's son! I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be blaming Tom King specifically for this, because yeah, I do blame Tom King for a lot. But I mean, isn't DC supposed to have safeguards up against this? I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there want to be writing comics. The Riddler is a fairly popular character, not in the levels of Superman and Batman, of course, but like a lot of people like him. I mean, I actually went to a convention dressed as the Riddler, and as I was walking down the street, some guys recognized me and said, oh my god, it's the Riddler! Like, I am the Riddler, baby! Like, the Riddler is fairly well known in Brazil. I'm pretty sure there are like a lot of people that like him around the world. I'm pretty sure you could have gotten a lot of people to write the one bad day Riddler comic. Why the fuck did you choose Tom King? In regards to Booster Gold, I'm not sure exactly how much of Booster Gold being in this comic was Tom King's decision, because this is a prequel to Heroes in Crisis, and apparently DC had like a list of characters that he had featured and also forced him to make into a murder mystery. So I'm not sure exactly how much power Tom King had over whether he got to choose to write Booster Gold or not. But isn't there supposed to be like a guy in DC that knows who Booster Gold is, that knows what's supposed to be, and he goes and says, yeah, Tom King, you shouldn't write Booster Gold like this. I mean, apparently this is what an editor is supposed to do, I'm not really sure, but like, there's supposed to be someone, right? Because it would be completely fucking irrational to expect every single big comic book writer to know the backstories and personalities of every single comic book character, right? Should have a guy that can look at something and be like, yes, this is right, or no, this is wrong, right? I mean, I can be that guy. Slip me $10 and I'll tell you if your story fucking sucks. Depending on how bad it is, I might do it for free if you give me the opportunity to slap the writer later. So this is my opinion on Tom King. He knows writing. He can write good shit. Honestly, I loved the Elmer Fudd Batman crossover issue. This is the pinnacle of mankind. Maybe the reason why he writes so much garbage is to balance the karma of the universe, because it's so good. He knows how to tell a good story. Even Heroes in Crisis has bits that I enjoyed. So this is why I am taking so many pains to defend him in this video. Tom King knows how to write. He knows how to craft a story. He just trips a little bit on the characterizations and superhero parts. I mean, the superhero parts were the worst part of Human Target. Except for Ted Kord's issue, it was fucking amazing. He was like a Batman 66 Batman. He had like a room to change his clothes and had colorful onomatopoeia and find was great. But yeah, superhero shit is consistently his worst part of his writing, but he does know how to write a good story, and you need to be able to pick up the good from the bad, man. You need to do that as a critic. You know, that's your job and everything.
Do you get better? I don't know. Probably not. Again, what the hell are we going for here? The level of darkness and violence and depressing madness in this story alongside jokes like this. What are we supposed to be feeling here? The whole thing is just so uncomfortable and awkward. And if that's what they were going for, well, bravo, but it doesn't make it good. It's still doing a horrible disservice to Booster.
Yeah, this part I have to agree with him, but not for the reasons you might expect. You see, normally I do like the idea of a character going insane and showing another part of himself, but this is not what happens here. I mean, Booster consistently remains the same optimistic, carefree guy during the entire thing. And it's weird because it's not supposed to be like that. He is in a very bad situation. This would be a great moment to show another side of Booster Gold. As I mentioned in my Booster Gold video, he should have just let Batman fucking kill himself. He should have killed Batman himself. He should have, like, as soon as he got out of the cave, just fucking beat Batman into a fucking pulp. But we do not get another side of Booster Gold. He is always this carefree, smiling all the time guy, even when he's insane, even when the situation is really, really bad and he spent like 2 years locked up in a cave. So I do understand what Linkara is going for here. Like, the situation is really dire and he is still the same character that he was before, like carefree. And yeah, I think also that this was a bad writing choice. I think that my biggest problem with the gift is that I don't think that it came from a place of love. As shitty as it might be, I don't think it came from a place of love and care, you know? I think that when Tom King sat down to write Booster Gold, he didn't think, oh, I'm going to write a Booster Gold that fans might love, or I will write an interesting Booster Gold that fans might think about. It's just that, no, I think that Booster Gold is a fucking stupid idiot, and I will write him as a stupid fucking idiot, and I'm not going to try to achieve any more than that. And it does apply to Batman as well, because I don't think he's sat down and went, I'm going to write a story that it's an interesting look at Batman's psyche, or it's really fun for readers to read. Said, man, I'm going to fucking write Batman as a broken person that kills himself in the end, and it's going to be very tragic and very gruesome. I don't think it came from a place of love and care. And again, I'm not saying that it necessarily needs to be all sunshine, love, and rainbows. You can write a tragic or an insane or even a stupid story from love and care. It's just, you know, it needs to show in your work. This is the sappiest bullshit I have ever said in my life. It is, but you know, it's something that I sometimes pick up when I read superhero comics, because you see characters, like for example the Riddler that I really love. You see these characters being handled by many writers, and sometimes it's a good thing, because you know the Riddler is not the kind of character that you can create with one writer. It is a character that has evolved with the times, and that's one of the things that I love about him. But it also means that sometimes he's written by people that don't care about him, that don't love him. And it kind of shows in the writing, you can notice that. And I think that the same thing happened here. You can clearly tell that there wasn't a lot of love and care poured into Booster and Batman. It is happy, but it is legitimately how I feel about this.
And while I mentioned that Bruce destroying Skeets was in character for Bruce, if he was aware of the alternate timeline and how the universe was better, then it's kind of character assassination for Bruce. Assassination for Bruce.
Well, there it fucking goes. There it fucking goes, he said it. It is kinda of character assassination for Bruce. That's it, folks. That's all we're gonna get this video. about how Batman's character was completely assassinated. That's it. So yeah, video ended. Am I going to talk about Linkara's Heroes in Crisis video? Probably not, because the thing about Heroes in Crisis is that there's a lot of details that I'm not aware of, like who the superheroes are that are talking in the interviews, or who the fuck Wally West is. I have no fucking idea who this guy is. And I do think that Linkara did a good job, as far as I can tell, in talking about the comic. I mean, the comic is so supremely bad. There's very few that I can think that actually worked for the comic. Yeah, I don't think that there was that much of misunderstanding that I managed to catch on and could add to it. It's just this video because I do consider myself to be knowledgeable on Booster Gold, and I do know enough about Batman through osmosis, through my Riddler readings, to be able to comment on this video. So I think that this is a video that I am able to lend my expertise on. But you know, what I said for still applies. Tom King, I respect you. I think that your writing kind of sucks sometimes, but you know, I wouldn't have your job. Like, if I had to write a solo DC big ongoing like motherfucking Batman, I would rather set myself on fire, because people are just going to be making videos about me online and harassing me on social media. And also, Linkara, you're a good reviewer. You clearly have passion for what you talk about. You know your shit, you know your history. This is not a diss on you. I am not preparing myself for war. I'm not like harming myself like, oh man, Linkara is my new local, I'm going to milk him so hard. No, it's not it. It's just that I saw your video, thought there were some pointers, some things that you got wrong, and you know, I'm gonna comment on it. So yeah, see you next video, guys. Thank you for watching.